Hi, this is Carolyn, and I'm here with Aaron. And tonight we're going to talk about something that Francis Tiafoe said in an interview with Forbes. Okay, he said, I think fans should be able to come and go and move around and speak during matches. Imagine going to a basketball game and not saying anything. He concedes certain events should retain some of the traditions, such as Wimbledon, but outside that, let's start to change things to bring younger fans to the game. Okay, Aaron, what do you think? Do you agree with Tiafoe?
I am shaking my head yes, 100%. There's so many things to talk about with this, but one of the things is that I realized was when you go to a professional match, like Carolyn and I were lucky enough to be at the US Open last year during the Serena match. We were actually sitting in the president's box. So this didn't pertain, well, it kind of pertained to us, but when you pay like a good amount of money to be at a tournament, what they do is if you go, let's say you go to the restroom or go get a drink or something to eat in between the first and second period, or at the very beginning of the match and you're not on time to sit in your seat, they hold you for 3 games.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not just like the first, like even after the first one, even though it's a changeover, they say it's not a true changeover. And so they hold everybody. And so those 3 games could last forever. You could be standing like waiting to go to your seat and miss like 20 minutes of a game, 20 minutes of a match or something. So that number one, I 100% agree. People should just not necessarily be able to walk in and out like totally at will. But I know during hockey games, like they'll hold up a stop sign for people to like wait while the play is happening. But as soon as the whistle blows and they do their thing, whatever changeovers, everybody mills around. And then, if somebody's like late to their seat, like maybe the person behind them might yell at them or something. But, other than that, it's not like the whole everything completely stops and there's not like you can hear a pin drop, which I think is a little silly.
Yeah, I completely agree. Aaron, I have a basketball background. So I grew up playing basketball. I've watched Final Fours. I've been to a ton of basketball games. So I didn't start playing tennis and watching tennis and going to professional matches until I was an adult. And I remember I went to a match. It was the Fed Cup. It's now the Billie Jean King Cup. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
Correct.
The Fed Cup with a group of friends. And after the first set, I went to get popcorn. And I didn't make it back before the beginning of the second set. And even after the first game, I was like, can we go in? And they said, no, you had to wait until the end of the third game. And I just thought that was so crazy. And also when watching for the first time a professional tennis match, it was strange to me because it's like, you cheer really loudly, at least at the Fed Cup you did.
Fed Cup.
When someone at the Fed Cup, when someone made, a great play, but then it's like, now sit down and be completely quiet.
Yeah.
And that just felt so strange to me.
Yeah. It would go from cowbells and noisemakers and pom-poms and people like cheering like their heads off to like complete silence. Right?
Yes.
So it was odd. And then if you're like, it's almost like at the movie theater, if you're like trying to open up your candy or something, you're like trying to be really quiet. And then you don't want like everybody to look up at you. What did you say? Someone like, what they do at professional matches is if someone's like walking around when one of the pros is trying to serve and the pro like stops, then they'll flash the camera on them and like shame them. Like, this is the fan.
That's what Yes, we were talking before this started, and I thought that was so strange. It also is kind of, I'm like, why is that person not serving? And it's because someone in the background is sitting down with their nachos and something's going on. And that's just so strange to me.
Yeah.
Why can't people serve with people moving in the background? Now, I say this as someone that is not a very good tennis player. I'm not playing professionally, obviously. But if Tiafoe's saying it,
right.
And people can make free throws, in college basketball with people going crazy in the background.
There's a band behind them and
yes,
people in costumes jumping up and down. Someone's in a banana suit or something crazy. Yeah.
Or a pitcher in baseball with people behind,
they're mocking them. Yeah. They're it's crazy.
Is a serve that much harder that you need complete quiet and concentration than any of those things? I don't know. Right. Because I never played, at such a high level, but I mean, it's just strange to me.
Yeah, it's interesting we're talking about this today too because I just got back from the ACC tournament that happened to be in our, close to our town where we live in North Carolina. And it's college tennis, so people go crazy. And if they didn't, like if the college kids were not allowed to come out and like cheer and, be kind of wild and crazy and cheer for their college teams, none of those kids would go to those matches because it would be boring. So they were out there, doing all their college cheers, and it was super fun. And you could tell like the players loved it. I get that at our level and our, rec tennis that, we can't maybe go that wild. We're not like, a bunch of college kids anymore, like, screaming or whatever. But there has to be some amount of distraction that we should be able to get used to, don't you think? Like, I mean, some people literally stop if there's like a bird or, you know. And I'm like, I mean, and again, I've never played golf, but golf is to me very similar where it's like I just watched the Masters a couple weeks ago and I've never played golf. I don't know anything about golf. I literally know nothing other than like miniature golf where you get like one club or whatever, right? And but it was like the whole, I don't know how many people are there, on those last few days, but it was like the whole crowd is like total silence. And I'm like, they're outside in nature. They're hitting one little ball and everybody's like, nobody can speak. It's, complete silence. And it just seems a little, I think it's just so old school, honestly. I think we need to bring both sports into like, modern times.
Yeah. But I didn't grow up playing tennis. So if someone's listening,
yeah, me neither,
and disagrees with us, please let us know. Tell us why I can't talk while you're serving the ball. Or, I remember even at that very first match that I went to, that I was eating the popcorn. I finally got in after the third game. I was able to get in and sit
35
down.
minutes later. Yeah.
Yes. And Madison Keys was serving, who I love and seems like the nicest person ever. And I almost choked a little bit on my popcorn, and I was so afraid everybody, so I started coughing a little bit, and I was so afraid that Madison was going to look at me and say, what, or everybody's going to look at me and say, what's your problem? Or they were going to stop the match because I'm choking on my popcorn, which, I didn't choke, but just a little cough. Right. And it's just really strange to me, based on my background.
When we were at the U.S. Open, speaking of, because I think Tiafoe is I think Kyrgios is in the same mindset as Tiafoe. But do you remember the Kyrgios match we went to at the U.S. Open? It was a night match. I mean, it was a wild party. Do you remember that? Yes. It was like after we watched Serena, we walked over to back to Louis Armstrong Arena. And that night match, I mean, Kyrgios wants it that way because, he likes that kind of crazy, like get the fans going. But it was so fun. I will never forget that match because it had so much energy. And I think we were like quiet-ish during points, but I don't think either of those players, I can't remember who he played, another really young kid. I don't think either of them would have like minded the crowd noise, except that Kyrgios would like get us going or get the crowd going a little bit more than maybe the other guy. But I remember it being so much fun. And then there was that girl that like guzzled her drink
her beer
on ESPN.
Yes.
Yeah, the beer girl. But it's like, I get that's professional. And we're, like I said, we're never going to do that, but there's got to be some sort of like, we shouldn't have to be able to have absolute no noise in rec tennis. Like for instance, I remember last summer I was playing a singles match and we were at a park. Like literally there was like 3 courts or 4 courts or whatever it was at a public park. And, these kids were like kind of crazy and running around, but they were pretty far away from us. And I remember someone being like, can we ask those kids to be quiet? I'm like, no, it's a public park. We can't ask children to be quiet. But I don't know. I guess maybe when we start out playing, we're introduced to the sport as it's being so quiet. And so then it's hard to adjust.
I agree. I think it's your expectation because never in basketball would I ever be like, they're being really loud. That's bothering me. But then there's a court where we play that has that kind of, or there's a place there's a patio that overlooks the court and people will get up there and talk. And I remember thinking, oh, I can hear them. That is kind of distracting. But I think it's just because my expectation is that it's supposed to be silent. while I
Right.
play, which is ridiculous for me.
It is ridiculous,
But I think for any level, I mean, why does it need to be completely quiet for you to be
Right.
able to do anything? Is it just our expectation? Like, would it really affect someone more so than it would affect someone shooting a free throw or someone pitching a ball or any other sport?
Do you think it's because it's a whole team on a court, like on a basketball court or on a baseball field? Or is it that there's a bunch of people? Or like, my daughter plays volleyball and everyone's like screaming, or whatever. But I mean, even in volleyball, which is super complete opposite of rec tennis, when the other team misses a serve, like either hits it out or hits it into the net, I used to feel so bad, but everybody goes crazy. They're like, yeah, use it, like they missed their serve. We got that point. I mean, even like,
Right?
even like 11, 12, 13-year-old girls were like, yeah, they missed their serve. But, we're not allowed to do that in tennis. But
Yeah, could you imagine if someone did that when we missed our serve, if the entire team was cheering? But maybe if we were used to it or we expected it wouldn't be that bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's some things that do need. I mean, I think like the Tiafoes and the Curioses and the younger guys. I think they do. I mean, certainly a bunch of them grew up with it being a very, very traditional sport, and they're maybe wouldn't agree with kind of introducing some more. But I think they all want to continue to grow the game in the sense of like we have to bring young people in, right, and keep them interested, so that they become the midlifers to the, and then use it as the game of a lifetime. But I think if we don't kind of evolve a little bit, I would hope in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 to 15 years that even we would see things change, because really nothing has changed since we started playing rec other than the tiebreaker changed. Like we don't do it the same way as the pros. We do like a come-in tiebreaker, but I don't think there's been any other changes to the game. And I think one of them maybe could be, I mean, we have a lot of opinions about like coaching and, stuff like that. But I do think things need to evolve and be updated.
Yeah. Or I can eat my popcorn. Yeah, I can eat my popcorn without worrying about people looking at me.
But even in rec matches, right? Like I remember years and years and years ago, there was a woman, I mean, she was just like bad attitude, having a rough day, yelling at everybody, during her rec match, her regular adult rec tennis match anyway. But I remember we were sitting watching because like all of our matches were done. So like maybe 4 courts had finished and she was the 5th court. She was playing doubles and we all kind of moved over and kind of quietly, like we weren't right on top of her court. We were all standing back watching, but I remember someone kind of drug a chair over because they were like, I just played. I want to sit down and finish watching this match. And she asked all of us to leave because like she could hear us talking, and literally we were whispering. And I mean, there's some clubs in our area that our local league coordinators will send out emails and say, we know this club gets kind of rowdy. Let's all, keep it in check and whatever. And it's like, we're being told to be quiet before anybody even makes a peep,
Right. Yes.
Like it's a little ridiculous. You should be able to have a conversation and not like stand on the sideline and be obnoxious or be disruptive, but like you should be able to sit and whisper and watch a match and not be told to get up and leave.
Please let us know if you agree with Tiafoe or if maybe you grew up watching professional matches and part of what you enjoyed about the matches is that it is quiet. You can message us on our website, which is secondservepodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening and hope to see you on the courts soon.